So you've gotten to the point where you got your trailer off of its pallet and unpackaged it all. And there's basically two main components that you've received. There's the trailer itself with the sign attached, and then the solar panel attachment packaged separately. Again, this is all after it's been removed from the pallet, so it's ready basically to deploy at this point. There's a couple steps we want to go through before we take it out to the roadway to make sure we understand the operation of the system and all the safety measures we've built into it to make sure it doesn't get vandalized or blown off the roadway or used inappropriately. So the first thing's going to be is to remove all the packaging around it that's been applied to make sure that it's in good condition when it arrives. Okay, of course, at this point, it's a good time to look over everything and make sure that it's in good condition and that nothing's been damaged in shipping. Hopefully, you were able to check before it arrived to make sure the packaging wasn't damaged. But at this point, we can check and make sure there's no pieces that have come loose or whatever, and we can tighten those down as needed. But everything should arrive to you in good working condition. First thing we want to do is set the sign up. So we'll remove the safety pin here from the tilt arm. I'm going to set that on the fender as you're working through this. There's also a pin to pull to release the tilt arm. This is perhaps a friend might help, but you can also do it by yourself. Flip it up and allow that pin to release. And then replace the lock pin in the arm structure. Take the sign up. We also want to deploy the solar panel and the static speed sign. Every driver feedback sign should be complemented with a static speed sign that displays the actual speed limit of the roadway. And with our system, this is really easily just placed here in the retracted hitch position. And now it's visible to drivers. As they approach the sign, they'll see their speed as well as what the regulatory speed is of the roadway. All right, with the static sign in place, you can actually use the lock pin here across the bottom of that sign's mounting bracket to lock it in place so it doesn't fly out. Of course, this should be removed when the trailer is in motion. But while it's on the side of the street, this will keep it from getting damaged and being removed from the trailer. One cool feature about the static speed sign is that it comes with these plaques on the front. So right now it's displaying 10. However, if you remove these screw sets here, there's just wing nuts on the back, so you don't need any tools to actually accomplish this. You can flip these plaques around. So natively the sign displays 2 and 5. We can also apply a 30 or remove this one and display a 35. We want to deploy the drop arms here to make sure the system is secure on the roadway. And everything needs to be level and make sure that it won't tip over. So the back, we have 2 drop arms that stabilize the back of the trailer. And then in the front, we use the hydraulic lift or ratcheting lift to level the trailer out. From this angle, you can see the whole back of the trailer design and what it looks like as drivers drive away from it. This is where the hitch is mounted. And again, the hitch retracts to provide security while it's in the field, and you can lock it with padlocks. Solar panel that's included with the trailer is packaged separately and comes in its kind of home protective packaging here. It's actually a 60-watt panel with customized bracketing to fit on the top of the trailer. It also has a stowed position when you're not using the trailer in the field, and we'll detail those in a second here. When deployed, the solar panel mounts to the top of the trailer bracket with a swing arm. The pin for the solar panel needs to be applied, and it's here in the stowed position when it ships. Just move that up and lock the solar panel in place. And then a simple 3-pin connector that you can't do wrong is connected here at the top position. You want to make sure you get a really good lock on that. We can also check on the power system later if it's connected properly, because it'll show charging off the solar panel. So at this point, the trailer is in its deployed state and ready to take out to the field. Things to remember that we've covered already are the drop arms or stabilizer arms have been dropped and locked into position. The static speed limit sign's been applied and showing the right speed for drivers. You can flip these plates around and show varying speeds there, depending on the speed limit of the roadway. The driver feedback sign is tilted up and locked in position. The solar panel is applied and also locked into position. And then finally, the whole thing is stabilized and leveled with the ratcheting jack. All right, at this point, we'll take a look at the power system of the trailer. To lock the battery box, we have this bar across the top here that allows you to lock the battery box lid in place. You remove that bar, set it aside for now, and then you unscrew these hooks from each side. A lot of these components are readily available at hardware stores, so if you do lose them in the event that something falls off or gets lost, you don't have to purchase them from TraffiCalm. So with the lid removed, you'll see you've got two 75 amp hour marine grade batteries, as well as the charging control circuit housed within this cabinet. There's also some instruction information and a checklist of what was done to the trailer before it's shipped to you. You'll also find instruction manuals for the full system and how to use it in operation and where to register your product at. You notice the trailer came with a certificate of origin. This is important when you're registering the trailer, and you'll need to take that to the DMV to register it. Okay, upon first installation, you will have to connect your batteries to use the system. It's pretty simple connections. There's two orange wires and two black wires with the appropriate connectors attached. And it doesn't matter which order you plug them in, they're wired in parallel. And so either wire will connect to either battery. With the batteries connected, you'll notice that the green light on the charge circuit down there, it's called the SunSaver 20L, that's the solar charge manager, turns green. And any charging will flash this LED here. With all the batteries connected and the battery or the output battery status set at green, we can flip the on switch here and the sign will begin to operate. With power on, the sign will begin showing signs of life. You'll notice in this display there's a flashing red LED. That will stay on as long as power is sustained. That means the sign is operating and working. It's discreet and not very visible to drivers and can be hard to see in daylight. So you might have to peer through the holes of the display to observe that red LED. At this point, any driver driving at the sign is going to trigger the display functionality of the sign. One component that's out of place here in the battery box is the 4-pin trailer adapter that you'll need to connect the trailer to your vehicle. It's good practice to leave this in the box here when you're not using it, but of course it doesn't have any function inside the box.
All right, we're going to cover a little bit of maintenance here. Let's just say your sign is powered on and you don't see any the LED indicator here. But if you look real close in here, you can actually see that there's a green LED and an amber LED also. So if you see any one of those three in here, you have power. The red LED may be off if you have this set up in stealth mode. So that could be a normal mode. But if you don't see any LED activity in here, it's probably not getting power. So then you need to test your power. And so we'll dive into the battery box to look at power. All right, now we're looking into the battery box here. The first thing you're going to want to look at is the SunSaver device down there that's connected to the solar panel, your batteries, and the sign, which is your load. So right now on the SunSaver, this indicator over here on this side is the solar input, and you can see that it blinks every 5 seconds. So right now it thinks it's nighttime. So you'll see it flicker on every 5 seconds. And because here in the lab where we're at, the solar panel is right up against the roof. It's only an 8-foot ceiling. So that's why it thinks it's night right now. But the battery output, you can just go on the battery connection here and take a meter reading. You see we got 12.75 or 12.74 volts. And then we'll move over to the load terminals. Take there, and they should be equalized. Whatever the battery has, and if it's outputting through the sun saver, it should equal the voltage of the battery. So we got 12.74 going out. So if the sign wasn't on right now, you got the switch in the on position, and you don't see any LED indicators, then you would just look around the back of it here and make sure the sign is actually, or the wire is connected up to it. Here's probably why it wasn't powered on then. It wasn't connected. All right, so again, the 3-pin connector, just make sure the 2 pins on top line with the 2 pins there, and it just pushes on. All right, then you'd go back around, see if you got power. You do have power. You can see it booting up. All right, let's talk about just maintaining your batteries for the long term. So what you'll want to do to test these batteries is isolate them from each other and the system. So you could just simply pull the fuse out or pull these wires apart, you know, just so that they're going to be each isolated from the system. All right, then you let the battery settle for like 5-10 minutes because they've been charging maybe with the solar panel. You want them just to settle down a little bit, and then measure them individually. Now you see I use a meter a lot, so it's a good idea if you're out messing with these to have a meter with you. So this one individually 12.75, this one individually 12.74. All right, so they're real close to each other. That's what you want to see. You know, if you start getting more than a volt difference from each other, then you might consider replacing the batteries at that point. But they should be equalized most of the time. That you'll have access to for this, there's some operating voltages you should be familiar with for this sign. So the sun saver device, right, the voltage regulator for the solar panel in there, it's called the sun saver. It has a low voltage disconnect, and so when the voltage gets down to 11.5, it can shut off. So that means the battery voltages and the solar panel input have both dropped, and so it's not going to have an output on the load until the voltage level rises up to 12.6 volts on the sun saver, which means the batteries need to be charged to at least 12.6 volts, and then the load will output to the sun. All right, the sign itself will run through different things. You normally want 12.8 volts or higher. These batteries will get clear up to 14 volts even or higher. But when it starts to drop in voltages, different things can happen because it's trying to save itself by reducing its power output. So when the voltage drops down to 12.3, the miles per hour that it will react to can drop a couple miles per hour. And then at one point you get clear down to 11.5 volts, the display mode will go off. So you might still see the green LED indicator in here, which is the Bluetooth indicator. That could still be on, but it's not going to respond to traffic any longer. So good things to be familiar with. So you want, good rule of thumb, 12.8 volts will get you full recovery from any low voltage disconnects, and the sign should be up and working fine.
Just to note, the solar panel is meant to give an extra boost to the system, not necessarily sustain the charge for it. So through normal operation of the use of this trailer, you are going to have to manually charge the batteries at some point with like an automotive grade battery charger. You want something that has about 20 amp charge capacity. These are substantial batteries, so you want to get some good charge in there and do it quickly. The solar panel, if left out in a yard, will charge the batteries indefinitely, but as soon as you start using the sign in the field, it's going to draw those batteries down more than the solar panel can keep up with. So really you're looking at a struggle of battery capacity versus what the solar panel can produce. You'll notice these have giant batteries in them and a little bitty solar panel for how most systems are configured. And that's on purpose here, is just to help maintain the operation of the system for as long as possible without having an overly cumbersome solar kit built onto it.
All right, let's talk about long-term storage. For me, long-term storage means 90 days or more. So maybe during the winter months, you put your trailers away in a warehouse, you're not going to be using them. So what you do is you charge these batteries with a good automotive battery charger, get a good deep cycle charge on it, and then you're going to disconnect the wires in there, as we have already pointed out, and then set this system down. Put your sign away in here, lower this down, take the solar panel, it'll be mounted on top here. Just remember now, whatever corner you shove it in, the solar panel will be sitting on top of it flat here. Just recommend put something over the top of it, because people like to use flat surfaces for shelves. Just save it a little bit. And that's it for long-term storage. Just if you're going to go longer than 90 days, tip the sign up, get in here to the batteries, and test the voltage again if you need to recharge. All right, some other maintenance considerations. Just check your tire pressure like you would for any trailer. Just follow the recommended PSI on the sidewall of your tire, and at least annually check the grease on the hubs. There's a little aluminum cap on the outside that you pop off, and there's a Zerk fitting in there to grease up the hubs. Maybe more frequently if you know you run through water a lot or something. So that's pretty simple. For the lights on the trailer, the running lights and stuff, you would have to have your vehicle hooked up, and then have somebody do the blinkers and the brakes, that kind of thing. And there should be a little light on here for the license plate. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of maintenance to this. Get your new trailer. Remember, this is a new install. You've just got it, and it's something you should routinely do anyways. But check all the nuts and bolts for tightness. We got the leaf springs on here. We got the lug nuts. Just all the little hardware pieces, nuts and bolts. Just check them for tightness, and just routinely, at least prior to deployment. If it's been sitting around a while, just check all the nuts and bolts. It'll be a good day.
All right, at this point, we're going to talk about deploying the sign in the field. So obviously, we usually have to transport it to wherever it's going to get to. So the whole system stows away for safe transport, and then, as we've shown, it expands into its current form to be used on the roadside. The first thing you want to do is, close up your battery box, make sure everything's connected in there. There's no sense in having to connect it in the field, so you connect all your wires and make sure everything's routed properly. There is some cable routing here on the left-hand side of the box, or right-hand, depending on how you're looking at it. It needs to go through the cable housings. At that point, you can just lay your lid on. Make sure once tightened that the eye bolts will allow for the lock bar to be passed through. So you don't have to necessarily tighten these down all the way or extremely tight. They just are there to hold the lid on, which is really lightweight. And the lock bar is actually going to stop those from spinning. So here's your lock bar and its lock pin. You could use a small padlock on the end of this lock bar to secure the battery box from vandalism and theft. Put the lock bar in place and it's locked down. The system is now sealed and ready for deployment. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the static speed sign. Back it up across the top that its post slides into. And then here on the other side, it locks in using the lock pin. And that's secure, it's not going anywhere. The next stage will be to lift your outriggers. So you go ahead and pull the spring-loaded pin to release one and slide it all the way up to the lock position. You'll notice that there are several positions that these can be mounted in, depending on whether the sign's mounted up against a curb or on uneven ground. But the last position, the stowed position, is completely separated from those. You want to do both of those. Of course, at this point, the trailer will be loose and not stabilized, so you want to be careful what you do with it and how you handle it, because it could potentially tip back onto its frame. For transportation purposes, the outriggers feature a pad up here on top of the post to ensure that the sign doesn't get scratched by any metal surfaces. You want to be sure that those are maintained, and those are readily available at any hardware store. As they wear down and get exposed to the elements, they're gonna wear out. So just make sure that you replace those probably every couple years or so to make sure that the sign doesn't get damaged in transportation. So at this point, you're ready to tilt the sign and mast arm down, or the tilt arm down, so that it's in the stowed position. So the first thing is going to be is to remove the lock pin from the sign mast. That comes out easily. You can set that on the fender for now. And then it features a spring-loaded lock pin as well that you have to slide out of the way. And then you begin to tilt the system down. First, you want to stabilize it as you lower it. Don't let it slam down on the support brackets. With it locked in position, you can put the lock pin back into the arm in the down position. So that holds it securely while it's traveling. You might have to move the sign around a little bit to get that pin to insert. Okay, with this down, now you can easily remove the solar panel. The first thing is going to be is to disconnect the power and then remove its lock pin. Set that aside and slide the solar panel off. Solar panel weighs about 25 pounds, so you want to make sure that you don't drop it or let it go. Of course, we don't want to just have to throw this in the back of the car, so we do have a stowed position for the solar panel here on top of the swing arm. Plug it out right there, and then put its lock pin back in place. Additionally, you can connect the solar panel in this position, and that allows for charging while the sign is laid down. At this point, the sign is almost ready for transport. We need to do a few more things on the other side of the trailer. You'll notice here that the tongue is in its stored and locked position. This is intentional so that somebody can't just drive up and drive off with your trailer. Of course, you can use trailer locks to secure it as well, but we want to extend this arm out for transportation. So to do so, there's a lock pin right behind the housing or the structure of the trailer that drives through a drop bracket and into the hitch. At that point, it just slides out. There's a secondary position there where you can put the pin back in, secure with the pin or the clavis pin always. At this point, the tongue is extended and ready to connect to a vehicle. If you're choosing, it can connect to a truck or a car, really any type of vehicle. We do want to make sure that the back of the trailer is not going to drag when it's connected to your vehicle. So at that point, we can raise the, or with the hitch connected to a vehicle, we can raise the jack all the way up and then swivel it out of the way. Of course, at this point, the trailer will be loose. You notice the trailer is actually quite lightweight when it's all together, so you can move it by hand. It is not something that needs to be moved on a vehicle. You can technically move it around by hand. Always make sure the pins are replaced when you're getting ready to transport the vehicle. That way nothing falls apart when it arrives or in transportation. So you can't have the static sign mounted when the hitch is in this position. You have to retract it to get that lock position for the static sign at the back of the trailer. With the hitch deployed, connected to a vehicle, and the lights connected to your vehicle, it's a good time to do a walk around and make sure that all the lights are operational. So you do have running lights there, and turn signals and brake lights at the back. You want to make sure that those are fully functional before you head out to the roadway. Otherwise, you're going to cause trouble for other drivers. Of course, the trailer is so small and lightweight, you could see the vehicle lights past all the trailer structure, but it's always a good idea to have your lights in good working order. It is worth mentioning that the trailer is very small and lightweight, so backing it up or driving around with it and keeping an eye on it as you're driving it can be difficult. So we recommend keeping your journeys at short intervals and not trying to tow this at long distances, especially at highway speeds. It's generally suited for side streets and the surface streets that this sign applies to. You could tow it at highway speeds. It is suitable for that, but it can become kind of disappears behind your vehicle.
All right, so here is your sign, and there is a sign insert, sign module inside the sign that is the actual electronics part of it. And if you ever have to take it out for repair because it has failed, you're going to have to take this mast, remove this bolt. This nut on this side has the nylon nut insert in there, so you have to get a wrench and take it all the way out. It'll have some resistance all the way out. Pull the pin out, and then you have to hyperextend this mast back so you can remove this retaining bar, and then the whole insert with the power cord will slide out the bottom of it.